Okay, so this is Toby here. It's the 10th and final lesson for beginners to SketchUp, learning how to use the Shoot plugin with SketchUp. We're going to be basically sending our drawing to the printing package, which is called Layout, comes with SketchUp. And before we do that, I'm just going to cover the rendering, which is just a bit of fun, really. So I've got a scene here, and rendering is when you try and make an image look like it's real. So we can go to extensions in SketchUp, and SketchUp, the latest version, comes with this AI render. And you never know quite what you're going to get, so I'm going to have a go. And what I'm going to say is you literally just type in here, create create a photorealistic image from the current scene set in an urban setting with shadows and soft lighting. Okay, let's try that and see what happens. And I just go generate. So that's now generated, and it's not done a bad job, actually. It's kind of put a wall in where it thought there should be a wall. It's even added some graffiti. Fantastic. And the good thing about the engine which SketchUp uses for generating these is that it preserves the integrity of the model itself. So we've got the trough, we've got the, sorry, let's close that. So we've got our garden shed, we've got our trough, we've got the right plants, and we've got the house as we drew it. Okay, so, and you can see it's added some creative stuff here, which was outside of the model, which in the context of how little information we gave it is fine. What you can now do is move this, and I just remember how this is very new, so I'm learning it. So what we can do is now go to this plus sign and add the generated image as a scene in our model. So I'll do that. And when I minimize this, you'll see that I've got my 3D away from house, 3D to house, which is the one that we used, and then we've got our AI generated scene. So the reason I'm showing this now is that we can use this scene as well when we go to layout. Okay, I'm just switching to another model. When Shoot does its plants, you've got two options. You either have 2D silhouettes on or 2D silhouettes off. That relates to the entire model. It doesn't relate scene by scene. So I've saved my model in two versions, one which has the circles and the other which has the 2D silhouettes so that we can see the actual plants. So I'm just going to start with the circles model, and what we do is we go to File and Send to Layout. And it says your model must be saved. Do you want to save it now? Yes, I'll save it. And that will launch SketchUp's layout. And it says which template do you want to use. So if I go to my templates, I've got one here called Shoot Training. My template is set up as A1 in size, but you could have A3, you could have A4, and it inserts the current scene into SketchUp. Now, when I click on that, you'll see that there's this bounding box around it. And on the tray in layout, we've got these options here, and we want to first look at the SketchUp model tray. First thing I'm going to do is make sure preserve scale is ticked, like so. And that means that when I drag this box, it won't rescale the model. It'll keep the scale and it'll just make that box shorter. So we basically want this to all be within the central area. This is an A3 sheet of paper, and this is the model. And the way we'd establish the scale, SketchUp brings it in at the scale that it thinks is appropriate for the size of paper. But if I look at the current scale here, it says it is, sorry, let me go back to it. It says it is 1:38, which isn't really a scale that you want to work with. So we'll pick the closest one to it, which should be 1:50 in millimeters. And it will change size slightly. But now we've got an exact 1:50 scale drawing. What I do is I have actually created some things there's a section called scrapbooks, and you can create your own scale bars. I'm not going to go into how you do that here. Maybe I'll do another video on it at some point, but I would pick a 1:50 scale bar and plonk it in position. Likewise, the north arrow comes from scrapbook as well. Now that I've got a drawing in here, I'm just going to create a few more pages. So the way I do this, because I've got a number of scenes that I want to show, if we look in go back to the SketchUp model section, you'll see that this is showing the top-down scene, and it shows you the model name here. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this page. So I go to Pages, Duplicate. And actually it looks like absolutely nothing has changed, because nothing has changed. All it's done is it's created two absolutely identical pages, which I can flip between with these arrows here. When it's grayed, it means you're on the last page. So I'm going to change the model now to the one that has the 2D silhouettes switched on. And that's this link in the SketchUp model section. There's this link here which says which model are we linking to. So I click on that and I choose not the one with circles, but the garden with trough. Working copy, open that, and now you'll see it's got the 2D silhouettes. But I don't want this scene, because I've got that scene already and I want that with the circles. I want to change the scene now. So make sure that we call this the viewport. Make sure that's selected. And now we'll just go to the scene here and say, I want to see the 3D to house scene. Wow, there we go. There's our 3D to house scene. And I'm going to now duplicate this page again. So we'll go to Pages, Duplicate. And this is the duplicated page. You can see there's the arrow right is grayed out. So this is the last page. Select this scene, this viewport again, and change the scene to say 3D away from house. Okay, so that's our other scene, and we're going to do one more page. So let's add one more page by Pages, Duplicate. And so this is the duplicated page. If I go back one, you'll see it's exactly the same. So this is my duplicated page. So now I'm going to not show another scene. I think there's actually a bug, because when I try to put in the scene that says AI render image, it's not bringing in the AI render image. So I think they've newly integrated that AI creating a scene. So what I'm going to do is just delete this viewport and select the viewport and press delete. And what we'll do is we'll go to File and Insert, and in here I've got this screenshot which I took of the render image. I can just scale that up a little bit, and that has the same effect. We still get that in. While we're inserting images, let's just go back to the first page here, and I'm going to do the same thing. File, Insert, and I've got these mood boards. I've got mood board 1, which I'm going to put up here and just scale it a little bit. And let's put File, Insert, mood board 2. And these are mood boards that were generated in the Shoot web application. And you can just create a PDF of those, and then I've taken a screenshot out of the mood boards and just imported those straight into the drawing. So the last thing to do is to label a few things and maybe add some dimensions. Now, because this is a real scale model and we know the scales, we can actually put dimensions onto this model. So this is the dimension tool up here, and I can go from this corner to this corner, and that'll be 5.2 meters because I had a 10 centimeter overhang for the roof. And if I think our trough was 1.8, was it? There we go, 1.8 meters. So we can add dimensions, and this is where you'll use dimensions. It's why we never use the dimension tool in SketchUp itself, because you'll do all your dimensioning in layout. And then we can add some labels. So here's the label, and we can point at an object like the shed. And the way it works is you click on the object, you then click to where the elbow is going to be, and then you place the label. And you can either take the component definition that's there, or you can type in your own garden shed. And when you click off it, it places the label. With Shoot's plants, they're quite clever, because if I point to this one and do the same thing, click, 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 there's a little drop down that appears, and I can choose that and say I'm choosing the entity, the Levandula angustifolia, and this is what I want to appear as the text. And then when I click off it, it's automatically put the label on. So I'll do the same thing here, click, 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 and drop down the Artemisia Paris Castle, and I want the component definition to be put in. And what I would normally do, if you're just doing a straight label, you can click and click again, and I would just do these one by one like this, and make sure that each of the different plants is labeled. Click, click, and the Alchemilla Morris. There we go. So that's all labeled up. So this is now, I would type in the proper heading for it up here, which is just a text box, which I've added, and that's in my template. So I'll call this Training House. Scale is 1:50 at, and I think I said A3 earlier, but that is actually A1, at A1. And I've got this title block which I've created as part of my template, and I'm not going to go into how to create a template like this because we just don't have time. This is a very quick dip into layout to kind of show the basics. So we've got this page, we've got this page, and we could add the same headings. In fact, let me just copy this one and at the same time correct my mistake there. and call it training house. I can copy this object, Control C to copy, and I'll just go to the next page, delete that and Control V, and the same thing here, delete and Control V, and delete and Control V. Okay, and on these we wouldn't obviously want a scale bar because they're just 3Ds, they're not actually to scale, but this one obviously does. Okay, so that's kind of what we would do, and now we can save our layout file, and we're going to call this training house, and that is our layout file. So whenever you want to make any changes to it, you open the layout file, but when this is all done, you will want to print it or create a PDF from it. There's no scaling to be done because SketchUp has done all the scaling for you. It's at 1:50 on A1. So you can go to File and either print, or if you've got an A1 printer in this case, which I haven't, or I would export, and then you can choose the type of file to export. Usually it'll be a PDF, but you can also do a JPEG. And we will call this traininghouse.pdf, and it's doing in the SketchUp training folder, so I can save that and export it. And it'll export all of the pages into one PDF file. Okay, so that's where I'm going to end this. Hopefully that is a pretty comprehensive overview from start to finish through SketchUp. Thanks for taking part in these sessions.